In fact, President Uhuru told me he knew of somebody called Charles Hinga, who was in South Africa, and who was a good expert in these matters of housing. We brought him. We looked for him. We brought him to Kenya. We met him, Principal Secretary for Housing. And then when everything was ready, and we started to collect the levy, and then there was noise. No, this levy, I don't know. These ones are complaining, those ones are complaining. Maandamano hapa, nini pale, nini kelele. Then President Uhuru called me and told me, William, si wewe uko na nyumba? Nikamwambia ndio, mimi niko na nyumba. Sasa hii kelele hii tunapigiwa ni ya nini? Kama hao watu hawataki manyumba, achana na hawa. So our housing plan collapsed. But you see, the irony is that that was 2017. Come 2022, housing was in the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza, mine. Housing was in the manifesto of the opposition, then Azimio, complete with 1.5% levy. Si mimi kwa bahati Mungu amenijalia nimeshinda uchaguzi. Housing si ndio hiyo iko hapo. Sasa ule Hinga was still PS, so I told him, you are not going anywhere. Sasa tufanye hii kitu this time. Akaniangalia, akaniambia, hii utawezana na makelele. So the keleles came. I was given new names, Sakayo, I don't know who. But I stood my ground. Because it was the right thing to do 40 years ago. It is still the right thing to do now. Because, let me give you an example. I invited the president of Singapore. He came to Kenya in 2023. Singapore was exactly like Kenya. Not even exactly. Singapore was actually a slum like Kibera in 1963. Just imagine. Singapore, if you look at the pictures, and he told me that they actually used force to get people to move from the slums to go and occupy houses on the 10th floor and 15th floor and 30th floor. For Kenya, we didn't have to use force. So he told me housing is something that you must do. It's not easy, but it changes a nation. Just look at the difference. They implemented housing in 1964. Today, Singapore is a first world country. 95% of their population are home owners. The opposite is that in Kenya, we did not implement. We are a third world country. 7 million Kenyans live in slums. Do you see the difference? So, we're implementing housing. In fact, I think my team has some pictures on what we are doing in Kenya. Today, we are building 230,000 units. 230,000 units in every town and townships in Kenya. I mean, if there is one thing that is going to change the destiny of our nation, it's housing. If you go to Mandera, you go to Wajir, you go to Kitui, you go to Mombasa, you go to Nyeri, you go to Murang'a, you go to Eldoret, you go to Kisumu, you go to Siaya, everywhere. I was on Friday, I was in Funyula. Do you know where Funyula is? Unajua mahali Funyula iko? Eh? Funyula is in Busia. You know? And we have a 10-story affordable housing program in Funyula. We are doing another 14-story in Busia town. We are doing another one in Malaba. And on and on and on and on. Just before I show you the clip, what is happening? We are now hiring close to 600,000 people. Engineers, surveyors, electricians, plumbers, masons, carpenters, and everybody in between. We have people working in the steel industry, in the cement industry, in our quarries, and everybody in between. By next year, housing will be hiring 1 million people. So, apart from decent housing, apart from helping us with reducing on land fragmentation, apart from stimulating our economy, housing is creating opportunities for jobs. And these are only 230,000 units. We have a shortage of 2.5 million housing units, and it is growing. So we will be at this housing for the next 20, 25 years before we can stabilize. And you know what? We have built this whole big program. Now the contracts we have signed is 600 billion. How much? 600 billion. Housing, markets, hostels, and all of it is our own money. We haven't borrowed from the World Bank. We have not borrowed from nobody. And for your information, if I were to go and borrow 600 billion shillings from the World Bank, I would live in Washington for 10 years to get it. I would need 10 years of letter writing and begging. But we have mobilized our own domestic resources, and Kenya is changing. The skyline of every town is changing, and we have many people working. You know, I don't mind the name. So long as Kenya gets transformed, I'm missing a problem. Sindio? Yeah. That's how nations are changed. Nations are not changed by small thinking, you know, being politically correct all the time, you know. You are waiting what will become a coffee throughout. You can never change a nation that way. That is one. Number two, we are expanding our digital footprint. We now have Ajira centers. We now have ICT hubs. We have BPOs, business process outsourcing. In fact, Teleperformance, the largest BPO in the world, is now set up camp in Nairobi. Is that correct, Thigo? Yeah? At that place in Two Rivers. They've set up a huge facility there. So, and we now have close to 180,000 people working in that ecosystem of digital jobs, because we have streamlined the law around there to make sure it works. That's our second pillar on creating jobs. And we now want to take ICT hubs to every ward in Kenya. Members of Parliament, we have allocated them resources to build an ICT hub in every ward in Kenya, so that we have 200-300 young people working, getting skilled, so that they can work globally. And then number three is what I've just discussed with you, you know, creating a pipeline for Kenyans who want to work abroad, you know, by streamlining visa, making sure that we have a transparent process, signing bilateral. We have, on that subject of job creation is the whole ecosystem we are building with special economic zones, county aggregation and industrial parks, and the negotiations we are carrying out to open new markets for Kenya. We've just concluded discussions with China to open the Chinese market for Kenyan products. We operationalized the European market. We signed the economic partnership agreement with Europe, 26 countries, last year, June. Now we have a whole European market open to Kenyan products. We have the Africa Continental Free Trade Area market, and we are engaging the U.S. to extend AGOA and to also negotiate a bilateral labor agreement between